I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how I found out my wife was cheating on me, but here I am. Her name's Lisa. She's a little fiery, a lot bitchy, and honestly, she's always been the kind of woman who could lie with a straight face about the most obvious things. We've been married for about 7 years now, and for the most part, I thought things were okay. Sure, we had our disagreements, but I never suspected she'd do something like this. The trouble started a few months ago. Lisa has a pretty demanding job, and she's been working a lot of late shifts lately, supposedly to help with a big project at work. She'd leave early in the mornings, barely say goodbye, then come back late, acting tired but always with that little smirk on her face. I noticed she was hiding her phone more often, keeping it in her purse even when she was in the bathroom. She'd get defensive if I asked her about it, brushing it off as just work stuff, but I felt something was off. Then came the odd things, small, strange signs. Her perfume smelled different on some days, or she'd suddenly be more interested in her phone than usual. She'd be working late, but would come home smelling like someone else's perfume, or she'd cover her tracks when I tried to ask about it. I found her sneaking out of the house once at night, but she lied her way out of it, saying she'd gone to a friend's house. I didn't push it then, thinking I was just being paranoid. But the real bombshell came when I started noticing changes around the house. Our guest bedroom, which she rarely used, suddenly became a place she was always going to, especially during her extended shifts. I'd be in the living room, watching TV, and I'd hear footsteps going upstairs late at night. Sometimes I'd catch the sound of her talking softly, then she'd come down pretending she'd been sleeping the whole time. There was a weird freshness to her, like she was trying to hide something, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding more than just a secret affair. One night I decided to do a little digging. I'd been suspicious for a while, so I checked her phone when she went to bed. That's when I saw it texts, flirty and outright suggestive, between her and the caregiver we have for my elderly dad. Yeah, I said caregiver. Her name's Margaret, an older woman who's been helping us with Dad's meds and daily needs. She's in her late 50s, a widow, and I always thought she was just here to help, not become part of some twisted affair. The messages were clear enough. Flirty comments, suggestive talk about long nights and secret moments, and her calling Margaret sweetheart in a way that made me sick. That was the moment I knew I was right all along. My wife, my so-called partner, was cheating with someone who's supposed to be just a caretaker, just a helper, while I was out working, trying to keep everything afloat. And she was doing it right under my nose in our guest bedroom, while I was busy coordinating Dad's care. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt a mixture of shock, anger, and betrayal flooding through me. All those nights I'd been feeling that something was off, that gut feeling I ignored, was right there in front of me, staring back. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I married, was sleeping with someone I thought was just a kind, older woman helping us out. It's like she used that guest room as her own little secret love nest, right in our house while I was clueless. I didn't confront her right away. I needed to process this, figure out what it all meant. But I knew I wouldn't be able to keep this bottled up forever. I was furious and heartbroken at the same time. How could she lie to me? How could she betray everything we had? I've been waking up every morning feeling like I've been hit by a truck, trying to come to terms with this mess she's made. And honestly, I don't know what's worse, the fact that she cheated or that she's so good at lying about it. After I found out about the affair, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate. My mind kept circling around the images of her sneaking upstairs, her whispering to Margaret late at night, the way she'd lie when I'd catch her in a corner. I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner, but really, I was more angry at myself for not trusting my instincts. Still, knowing the truth made everything else in our life feel hollow. The next day, I decided I had to confront her. I waited until she was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy with her coffee, and I dropped the bomb. I showed her the texts, I laid it all out. Her face was a mask of surprise at first, then quick to turn into anger. She blinked a few times, scoffing like I was overreacting, then started to spin her usual web of lies. "You're paranoid," she snapped. "You're reading into things. Margaret and I are just friends. You're imagining stuff because you're stressed with your work and Dad's health." I couldn't believe her. That's her go-to. Deny, deny, deny. She's good at lying, I'll give her that. She threw her head back, acting like she's the innocent victim, saying I was accusing her for no reason and that I'm overreacting because I don't trust her. I felt my blood boiling. How could she sit there and lie so blatantly? She knew damn well what she was doing. The worst part was that she had the audacity to call me insecure and jealous, like I was the one messing around and she was just some innocent victim of my paranoia. I told her to get out of the house for a while. I needed space and time to think. She stormed off, screaming at me about how I was overreacting, how she deserved better than my accusations. I watched her walk out the door, her high heels clicking on the floor, and I swear I felt my world tilt off its axis. That was the moment I truly realized I was dealing with someone who would lie her way out of anything, even her own betrayal. That night I stayed up thinking about what to do. Part of me wanted to blow everything up right then, pack her bags, tell her to get lost and never look back. But another part of me, the part that still loved her, was torn. I kept asking myself, how deep does this go? Is it just a fling? Is there more? And I kept coming back to the fact that she used our guest room, our sanctuary, our guest bedroom, like it was her own little secret hideaway. That room, which was supposed to be just a guest space, suddenly felt like a symbol of her betrayal. I couldn't just let this go. I had to do something. I started digging more. I decided to track her phone, look at her banking statements, anything that might give me a clearer picture. The more I delved, the more I saw how calculated her lies were. She'd leave her phone in her purse when she went upstairs, but I found out how to access her messages through some spyware I installed on her apps. That's when I saw she'd been meeting Margaret during her long shifts in the guest room late at night. Tell me she was working on her laptop. I knew better now. Honestly, I was disgusted, not just at her infidelity, but at how she thought she could keep it hidden. Her whole act about being busy with work was just that, a facade. That room was her secret love nest, and she had no shame about lying in my face. I felt betrayed on every level. The woman I married, the one who told me she loved me and wanted a future together, was out there sleeping with someone else. And I was supposed to pretend everything was fine. I started feeling more detached, more numb. Part of me wanted to confront her again, but I knew it was pointless in her mind. She'd deny everything and keep spinning her lies. I realized I needed to decide what I was going to do, but truthfully, I was overwhelmed. I felt like I was losing my mind, knowing that the woman I trusted, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying to my face about her affair. It's one thing to suspect, but it's another entirely to know for sure. And knowing this, I started planning my next move. After a few days of feeling like I was walking around in a fog, I knew I had to act. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay, not with this weight on my chest every time I saw her or thought about the situation. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time I needed to be prepared. I wanted the truth, no more lies, no more spin. When she came home that evening, I was already waiting in the living room. She looked surprised, but that didn't faze me anymore. I told her I knew everything, that I had seen the texts, the messages, the late nights in the guest room. I told her I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this one. Her face shifted into that familiar smirk, the one she used when she was trying to charm her way out of trouble. But I wasn't buying it. She started with her usual bullshit, claiming I was overreacting, that I was reading into things, and that Margaret was just a helper, not some secret lover. That's when I snapped. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I knew she'd been sleeping with Margaret in our house, behind my back, while I was busy caring for Dad. I said that I had proof, screenshots, dates, timestamps. Her eyes widened for a split second, then she quickly recovered, trying to look innocent, but her hands were trembling. Her reaction only fueled my anger. I asked her how she could betray me like this. How could she do this in our own house, in our guest bedroom, which I thought was supposed to be a safe space? Her excuses came fast and furious. She said she was stressed, that Margaret was the only one who understood her, that it wasn't supposed to mean anything, and that I was just jealous. I couldn't believe the audacity. She was trying to spin it again as if I was just imagining things or overreacting because I'm insecure. I told her I didn't care about her excuses anymore, that she was a liar and a cheat, that I was done trusting her. The pain was overwhelming, but I forced myself to stay calm, at least on the surface. I told her she could leave the house if she wanted, that I didn't want to see her face again until she decided what she really wanted. Her words were bitter. She screamed that I was throwing her away, that she'd never hurt me intentionally, that she loved me. But that was bullshit. Love doesn't cheat, doesn't lie, doesn't sneak around behind someone's back. As she gathered her things, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I knew I'd made the right choice to confront her, but it didn't make it hurt any less. I watched her walk out that night, her high heels echoing down the hallway, and all I could think about was how the woman I married had turned into this stranger, someone capable of betrayal and deceit. The house felt emptier than ever after she left. I sat alone in the dark, replaying everything in my mind, her lies, her cheating, her betrayal, and I wondered how I missed all the signs, how I let myself be blind for so long. I felt broken, angry, and utterly betrayed. I kept asking myself, was I just fooling myself that things could be different, or was I stupid for trusting her at all? Even with her gone, the images kept flooding my head. The secret nights in the guest room, the texts she tried to hide, her fake tears when I confronted her. It's like she had this whole double life, and I was just the fool who didn't see it coming until it was too late. I know I need to move on, but right now, I'm just trying to breathe and figure out what comes next. I've always believed in marriage, in loyalty, in honesty. But right now, all I feel is that I was betrayed by the one person I thought was supposed to have my back. The days after she left felt like a blur. I tried to focus on my dad, who barely understood what was happening but could sense that something was wrong. Caring for him kept me busy, but the emotional weight of it all was crushing. Every time I looked at the guest room door, I was reminded of what she did there, how she used that space as her secret hideaway, as if our marriage meant nothing. I couldn't sleep, kept replaying her words, her lies, and her betrayal. I started to think about what I wanted to do moving forward. Part of me felt like I should just let it go, pretend it didn't happen, and try to salvage what little was left of us. But deep down, I knew I couldn't do that. Not after discovering she'd been sleeping with Margaret, the woman I trusted to help with my dad. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the breach of trust, the lying, the way she'd used our house and my father's care to hide her betrayal. So I made a decision. I had to figure out if I wanted to fight for the marriage or walk away completely. But first, I needed evidence. I wanted to be sure I wasn't just imagining things, that this wasn't some cruel nightmare I was waking up from. I started monitoring her phone more closely, checking her emails, her social media accounts, anything that could give me clarity. I also contacted a private investigator I knew, someone who could help me get concrete proof, photos, videos, recordings, so I could be absolutely sure before I made any final moves. In the meantime, I felt a strange sense of relief in getting the truth out in the open. I wasn't going to let her keep lying to me, hiding behind her fake smiles and excuses. I wanted to know how deep this went, how long she'd been doing this, and whether or not Margaret was just a one-time thing or a pattern. The more I uncovered, the more disgusted I felt, not just at her betrayal but at myself for ever trusting her so blindly. One night, I got a call from the investigator. He sent me some photos, her in the guest room holding hands with Margaret, kissing her clear as day. It was like a punch to the gut. There they were, caught in the act in our own house. I stared at those images for hours, feeling like I was suffocating. My wife, the woman I thought I knew, was sleeping with her caregiver, right under my nose, while I was running around trying to keep my father alive. That picture destroyed whatever shred of hope I'd been holding onto. I realized that I had to accept what was happening and decide what I was going to do next. Do I fight to save the marriage, or do I cut my losses and walk away? Honestly, I was leaning toward the latter, but I also knew I needed time to process everything. I'd been betrayed in a way I never thought possible, and my mind was filled with 1,000 conflicting feelings: anger, sadness, disgust, and a deep sense of loss. As I sat there staring at those photos, I promised myself one thing: I would not let her manipulate me anymore. I'd confront her again, but this time I'd be prepared. I'd tell her I knew the truth, that I had proof, and that I was done playing nice. Whatever she thought she was doing, her games, her lies, they were over. I didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. I was done being her fool. I deserved better, and I was going to take control of this mess, one way or another. That confrontation came sooner than I expected. I couldn't keep this bottled up anymore, not with the evidence I had. One evening, I told her I wanted to talk, and she came over looking smug, expecting to manipulate me again. She probably thought I was still some naive fool, still buying into her lies. But I had the photos, the messages, everything. I laid it all out on the table. Her eyes widened when she saw the pictures. For a second, she looked genuinely stunned. Then her face twisted into that bitchy, defiant mask she always wears when she's cornered. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're paranoid and jealous, that's all this is." She tried to deny everything, claiming the photos were fake, that I was twisting things, that Margaret was just a friend helping her through a rough patch. She said she never meant to hurt me, that it was just sex and that she loved me. I wasn't having it. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I'd seen enough. I told her her lies weren't going to work this time. I said I'd had enough of her playing the victim. She was the one who cheated, who lied, who used our house, our trust, and my father's care as her playground. I told her that I documented everything and that I was done. I told her she could leave, and I meant it. Her reaction. Oh, she went ballistic, screaming, crying, calling me heartless, crazy, and a horrible man for throwing her out like this. She accused me of ruining her life, of being jealous and insecure, of trying to control her. But I didn't care anymore. The truth was out, and I was done with her lies. I told her she was a cheating, manipulative bitch and that I never wanted to see her again. She left that night, storming out, slamming the door behind her. As I watched her go, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I'd finally confronted her, and I'd gathered enough proof to justify whatever came next. But that relief was short-lived. Deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of a long, painful road. My entire world had been shattered, and I was left with the harsh reality that my wife, the woman I loved, had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Now, I'm living in this quiet house, trying to piece everything back together. I've filed for divorce, cut all contact, and started the process of healing. I've told a few friends what happened, and most of them are stunned. Honestly, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I keep thinking about all the times I trusted her, all the moments I missed the signs, and all the pain I've endured just to find out she was sleeping with Margaret, the woman who was supposed to be helping us. It's a strange feeling, knowing that the person you thought you knew so well was capable of lying, cheating, and hiding in plain sight. But I've learned something important in all this. Trust can be shattered in a second. And sometimes, the only way to move forward is to accept that some betrayals are just too deep to fix. I don't know what the future holds now, but I do know that I'll never let someone do this to me again. I've been betrayed once, and that's enough. I just hope I can find some peace and rebuild what I've lost. Since she left, I've been trying to piece my life back together. Honestly, it's been the hardest thing I've ever gone through. I keep waking up with this hollow feeling in my chest, knowing that the woman I trusted most in the world was capable of such deception. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever fully recover from the shock of it all. But at the same time, I know I need to move on. For my own sake, for my dad's, and for whatever's left of the life I thought I had. I've started therapy, trying to understand how I let this happen and how to trust again. It's not easy. Every time I see a woman who looks kind or caring, I get this pang of paranoia. It's like a reflex now. But I remind myself that not everyone is like her. Not everyone will betray me like that. I've also decided to focus on my work and my dad. They're the only constants I have right now, and honestly, they keep me grounded. Looking back, I've realized that I was naive, so trusting, so eager to believe in the best of her. But betrayal like that teaches you hard lessons. It's made me more cautious, more guarded. I understand now that sometimes love isn't enough. There are people out there who will lie, cheat, and use you for their own gain, and you have to be smarter than that. I want to share this story because I know there are others out there who might be going through similar pain, feeling betrayed and lost. I want them to know that it's okay to feel broken, to feel angry, to grieve what you've lost. But you also have to remember that you're stronger than you think. You can rebuild after betrayal. You can find happiness again, even if it feels impossible right now. This experience has changed me forever. I'll never see trust the same way again, but I also know I'll come out of this stronger. Eventually, I hope to find someone who values honesty, loyalty, and real love. Until then, I'll keep healing, keep moving forward, and remind myself that the end of one chapter is just the beginning of a new one. Life's too short to let betrayal define me. I've learned to stand up, face the pain, and keep going. That's all I can do.